Welcome to another episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. My name is Stephen Clark and I'm joined by a co-host in the studio, Nick Ponty. Bringing you all the latest news, guys, keeping you up to date with the property market.
So welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast, Maria Thomson. We finally get you in the hot seat. Thank you for joining us.
I'm absolutely delighted and just regret I didn't make it down sooner. I'm having a great time.
Brilliant. Can you start by telling the listeners then a little bit about your backstory before we get on to some of the fantastic projects that you're currently working on?
So I went to multiple streams of property income with Progressive in October 17. I was 57 and I wanted to change my life. We had a huge festival business at the time, but I couldn't see myself doing that at 70. So I'm also a master hypnotist and I've done loads of things. All of them actually very successfully, because I believe success leaves clues and you've got to work hard and you've got to be prepared to fail. So,
what was the festival business though?
It was wood-fired pizza, and we did 62 festivals from right down in South Croydon, Devon, to Hebkelt. We did Glastonbury, we did Leeds, we did everything.
Excellent. Is that still going now? Or?
Our daughter still does that, but we've pulled her in to do the interior design and property. Right. However, our intention is to make the King Eustace, where we live and where we're developing, as well as Edinburgh, into a big town of festivals to pull people in.
Right. Nice. We'll try and tie it in.
Yeah, again, it is looking at just rounding everything out with your business.
Absolutely. So what was the big attraction then, I suppose, at that age to say, I want to change?
What do you mean at that age?
People in their late 50s are looking towards retirement going, okay, the mortgage is cleared off, time to end my career or to start taking this little step back. But you're venturing into something that's, well, we spoke off air. It's not fucking easy, is it? It's difficult.
Easy. It's not easy. I just really, as I say, I couldn't see myself going around festivals at 70. I thought, this is just frankly
the
getting
glow
sad.
sticks and that.
No, and I'd always been interested in property, and my husband hadn't been, and this is a great chatting point in property. I really want to do it, but my wife or my husband doesn't. So what I did was I just went on and did it, and then the whole family, well, not the whole family, I've got 4 children, 2 of them work with us, and we're building a legacy business. So
and was that the attraction, was to build that bit of legacy for the family as well?
I'm sure when you start off, it's actually just always the first step. And I thought, if I end up with 2 holiday lets out of this, that'll be fantastic. But when you put in laser-like focus and you work 24/7, then things happen.
Do you also think that when we start off in property, you really don't know what's possible, so you just think that so much smaller because you don't know what's possible, and the minute you start realising that money is out there in abundance and deals are out there in abundance, that you start going, okay, we can actually make this a lot bigger.
Absolutely. And I think actually, you can be so focused, you make things happen. You're taking care of the details, and actually your dreams are just coming true more than you even expected, and I'm sure that's the same with you guys as well.
And did you think, at the time you were doing the festivals, that sounds like really hard work as well, because you're travelling up and down the length and breadth of the country, long hours, and obviously, you brought up the age thing as well. At that period of your life, you think to yourself, I need to maybe start having a plan here. I can't go on. How much of that did influence your decisions to start getting involved in property?
It did influence my decisions. So what I did, again, using my hypnosis background, and when I say I always do things successfully, I was accepted to do a PhD at Edinburgh University in psychoneuroimmunology on the basis of a hypnosis course.
Right.
Maybe I can talk a bit.
So with the hypnosis stuff, what sort of, how much of your time was spent up doing that, and how much, of your time was spent doing the festival business?
Well, the thing is that I was doing that before. So I had a big practice in Edinburgh I was specialised in unexplained infertility.
Right, okay.
And then when we decided to move up north, that's when we started the festival business, because it's quite hard to make money up in the Highlands.
Yeah.
So that's why we travelled so much. And I wasn't prepared to do stopping people smoking for £35 an hour when I'd been charging a lot more.
Right.
You
And
know.
why the move to the Highlands as well?
Again, it was my husband. He was brought up in Elgin.
Right.
And so
Nice.
what we did was we bought a double upper flat and an old butcher shop. And it had been on the market for 18 months. And
Was this very first project when you...
yeah, so
Yeah.
that was back in like 2003. We made it into our family
Right.
home, a 5-bedroom townhouse.
Oh, wow.
So we now still got that as a super luxe holiday
Holiday.
let.
Nice. And
Yeah.
they sit in the Carusi. Is
Yeah.
that Carusi as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's in Kingston as well.
So,
yeah.
so take us to the point where you finish your multiple streams of income training. What was the kind of grand plan then? Was it to build assets? Was it to develop? Because you're doing a multitude of projects.
I went to see my lawyer, who is still my lawyer, and he said, "You'll never get a deal. Edinburgh is a shark-filled pond, and you will never get a deal." Now, I was very specific. At that point in time, I only wanted Edinburgh because, in the Knight Frank Wealth Report, it's the second best property market in the world. So I knew Edinburgh and I wanted it. So he set me up with my first investor, who was a real misogynist. So it was, when I say it was hard, how I recovered from that. So
So it's a private investor that
private
you
investor.
didn't know before.
I didn't know before, no. And he was a real misogynist. It was not good. It was not good. I think I went to my bed for like a day, and then I just regrouped. And then I was still in touch with the people. This was I was still going down, and I was doing mentoring, and I was on a commercial course actually down in Southampton. So someone said to me, the problem with women is they don't actually go out enough and try and get property. So I took I think she was a 24-year-old daughter with me. I thought, okay, I'm 57, but this combination might work.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And actually our first deal was fascinating because it was in Edinburgh and Lower London Road, so Abbey Hill. And it was actually, nobody knew it was a Georgian listed building because it had been a car showroom and it had been tagged with death. It was, like they sort of writing, the
Right,
aerosols.
Graffiti.
Graffiti, yeah. And I suspect it had also been a cannabis farm. So I got that for 240, but I persuaded them to get planning permission.
It's just with the hypnosis come in here, I think. I'm beginning to see a path here before we even start.
So they paid for planning permission. And before I'd actually even signed, it had increased by £50,000.
Wow.
So who was it that you got to do the plan permission?
The sellers.
Sellers.
And what was the plan and gain for them? Was it to change it in the commercial?
To 3 flats.
Nice.
And so
Yeah.
this was a commercial building.
It was a commercial building.
And it was listed.
And it was listed. They'd forgotten to list it.
forgot
So
to list
when they realised, and they actually asked me if I would allow it to be listed. And as we peeled back the layers, it was called Nemo's World. And actually, we even found a fish that had been left. So we found Nemo. It was tropical. It was so tropical fish. So we would find like the odd lizard, etc., still scampering about. But that turned out to be really beautiful.
Nice. So you got the planning game before you even
Yes.
before you even purchased it. You had the misogynistic investor lined up. How did the first project go then? Did you develop the 3 flats out?
Developed the 3 flats out
And sold them?
Sold them. One woman bought 2.
Wow.
And actually, it's about paying attention to the details. This woman was an expat from Hong Kong, and that actually became very important in our story later.
Mm-hmm.
So we just started being like piranhas in a river, looking for every single property that was available.
And the strategy at the time, you had a clear focus on buying commercial buildings then?
Yes.
Right, okay, and
But
development to sell.
you know, I do have a law degree and I was a lawyer. I was down in Southampton learning a course on permitted development, and I didn't realise we didn't have that in Scotland.
Doesn't apply in Scotland, yeah.
So just touch on that for a second, because that's quite interesting. Because, you know, you watch YouTube, you watch all the social media, and all these guys that are doing this, commercial to residential developments, and they all look like they're absolutely flying, and you think, oh, I want a bit of this. But what are the differences then in Scotland?
The differences are that
We
we just don't have that.
We don't have the permitted development.
We don't. They don't need planning, so we need planning. But I believe that you can turn anything to your advantage. So what that did was, actually, I think it gave me a head start in Scotland. So I took those principles that I had learned, and I'd spent quite a lot of the family money.
Right.
So I was like, can I tell them that I've been so stupid, or do I have to make this work? So, we went for planning. And again, you've got to look for the advantages of planning. If you get an offer subject to planning, you've got that price locked in. And if it takes you 2 years, you've got it locked in at real estate prices of 2 years ago.
Yeah, without the increase.
This is really interesting, though, because a lot of people will go into like the commercial and development stuff, you know, after they've kind of like maybe just dabbled a little bit.
Start
You know
on
what I
it,
mean?
buy
But this
that
seems
portfolio.
quite a big project for your first one.
I didn't have a lot of time. I was 57.
So you're
That's
just like,
interesting.
I'm going gung ho. I'm going full on and just immerse yourself. Was that down to, do you think, the education and the money that you'd spent on the mentoring as well?
I
That you
think
just
so.
thought, I'm going all in here.
I think you know, when we talk about what we bring to our property game, we bring our personalities, and we all know people who spend fortunes on courses and don't do anything. And I could just never be one of those people. So
You're just all in.
Yeah,
and
I like it.
actually, everyone else on the course used to say to me, stop saying it was so good because it was a really terrible course. I say, well, it was good for me.
Right.
Could you take the positives from it?
Yeah.
And you use it to your advantage, clearly. And you're learning about a fucking English system, and you still apply it to Scotland and made it work. And I bet you 90% of the people on the course that were based in England didn't make it work in England that was specific for. So it shows your personality. Tell us a bit about the result of the first one then. You sold all 3 of them off.
Sold all 3 of them.
So during the development, did you run into major problems? I'm assuming you put it to a main contractor, a project that size.
I did. But actually, the main contractor I used, I'd known him since he was a child, and he hadn't really done a lot.
Right.
But you find actually in trades, there are a lot of really clever guys and girls there, but who are dyslexic. So they do not get a chance. So really that team, they did a great job coming up with out-of-the-box thinking. And so one of the things that we had to do, because everything is expensive and it's very difficult to stick to budget, was they made their own sash and case windows. And we were looking at the cost so much, even to... So they came down one way, but not both ways, because that involved too much lead.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, how much do you need to open a window? That sounds terrible, but they were lovely windows.
No, absolutely. So how much was the total development of the 3 flats then?
Oh, I can't remember.
I love the numbers, Maria.
I know you do, yeah.
You'll need to get back to us on these. We'll need to update
It
the
was
listeners,
just,
because you've got us hooked on this now.
Oh,
We just
yeah.
want to know all the detail.
How much did they sell for?
Gosh, I can't even remember that. But you know, the thing is, that's why we're a team.
Yeah.
So Gordon is the numbers man.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Let's phone a friend. Phone Gordon in.
Phone a
Get him on the phone right
We're going to
now.
get Zoom in.
Gordon, what's
So,
the
well, if we...
You were in profit though.
Oh, yeah. Well, I returned
Successful.
a 58% profit
Wow.
to my investor, yeah.
So you returned the misogynistic got 58% return.
I'll tell you what was real. No, he didn't do it. It was actually, I got someone from the course I was on.
Right.
No, he refused.
Oh, right.
And that's the thing, is that when people are going for private investors,
Wait
they
years.
have to realise people will say no, maybe for just different reasons, and it doesn't matter. It's all about keeping going. So what happened was, I thought, and I'm like, I haven't told the rest of the family here, so I have to follow the one thing that they are saying, which is use other people's money. And so I sent a message to a friend. She was there, and I said, would you have a look over this little script that I've got, see what you think of it? And I was so convinced that I wouldn't be able to get private investors.
You hooked her in, didn't you?
That she actually sent me she sent me a WhatsApp message saying, I'd love to invest in this. And I didn't even notice that that's what she had said.
All right.
So the second person I went to, she said, yeah, how much do you want? Should you want 100,000 or you want 50? And I said, oh, I'll just take 50.
I'll just take the 100.
Yeah.
And where did you meet this person again?
It was on my course.
On the
and
course,
that's actually
so
a great way of meeting.
Oh, it is. You get an instant network, don't you?
do.
Yeah.
We've heard this from quite a few people, so they might not have, like, they might have come off the course and go, right, I spent 20 grand on that, but, you know, was it really worth it? But then they've built relationships, they've brought them opportunities.
I had a fantastic guy in my workshop a few months back, Brian. He's sold one business. He's in the process of selling a second business. He already had 16 properties in and around Glasgow. He downsized his portfolio a little bit. He's now moving out to Spain. And he came on the workshop to say, I'd kind of done this. I brought my portfolio accidentally over a long period of time. Now I know what I'm doing. But then when he came, he actually went through it with us for 3 days. He was like, yeah, I'm happy investing in people's joint ventures and lending it the money. He was happy to sell his business, invest in deals. And he came to a place where he had an instant network of people that could find them deals, joint venture with him, because he was going to move out to Spain. And it just shows you that all sorts of people walk through, you know, a course like that where they want to do something completely different.
But when they realise what's involved,
They go,
it's not for them.
And if you get any tips for our listeners who are listening to this right now and thinking, God, I'd love to get somebody just to hand me £100,000 like that. Like, how, you know, obviously it's not that easy. So what would be the main things that
this is your mindset, because me and Maria were talking about it off air and she was saying it's ridiculously easy to get money.
Like, this is mindset, because I've never asked anybody for money, right? And I'm scared, but I know that I'm missing out on a lot of opportunities because I could be. So even just to me, somebody like me who's scared to ask somebody for money, what would you say to them?
Well, I'll tell you my story. As I say, I don't think there was... People could be as bad at me at this fear of asking people for money, but not worse, because, you know, I really had this belief, and even though someone was saying, I want to invest, I didn't notice it. So again, on this course, that was a 10-month course, and it was every month we went down. And I was having a cup of coffee with this girl who, she was never going to invest. She was interested in everything. And she was talking about blocks in your body. And she was talking about money blocks. And again, hypnotist, very suggestible. And I was like, she said, yeah, she can feel these blocks in your body. And I'm like, oh, I think I can feel that block. And I said, what do you do? She said, just get rid of it. So I went, okay, I'm just getting rid of it. And it was as simple as that.
Can we try this live with Nick right now? Because I'm interested to see this. Watch
How
me.
do I get rid of my blocks?
Yeah.
Well, look at his body language. He's like this. We're talking about money, and he's like,
You're right. You're absolutely right. Look at me. He's trying to relax. I'm going to relax.
carrying a few blocks here, so how do I get rid of my blocks? No, but my question as well is, why you, though? Why has she picked you out of all the other people in the course to trust and invest £100,000 with? Like, you know, what you've come with no experience, have you? So
I had, no real experience.
So how did you build that
But I'll tell
relationship?
you what happened. So the guy who ran the course, I don't want to name him because I'm really fond of him, but he's not getting a good rap at the moment. He said that as soon as he saw me, he knew I would succeed. So what he used to do was, you would get 1 bottle of champagne for your first deal, and they make a big thing of it. So I was sitting there and I saw this woman getting a bottle of champagne. I was like, I want one. And so, of course, I did get one, but I was the only person to get more than one. And the reason for that was he then...
You could tell you're an alcoholic, aren't you?
No, what was is that to get a deal, you've got to put in offers. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he would be standing there, and maybe England was a saturated market, but they weren't putting in offers. So he'd say, how many people have put in 1 offer this month? How many people have put in 2 offers this month? And, you know, like, he had to keep going, because every time I saw property, and if I'd analysed it, I had to put in an offer.
Or you're wasting your time.
Or you're wasting your time. Exactly. And these people weren't putting in offers. So I would actually win, because I was...
So they saw you as an action taker, somebody who's actually doing it.
It's quite inspiring to hear you speak as well, Maria, because I've had Nick on the podcast for a few years during COVID and going, oh, the market's saturated, no one can get deals. And then you will speak to different people on the podcast and different people in the property industry, and I've probably been tarnished with the same brush where that negative thing has your effect. And it's always the same thing. You can't get deals in Edinburgh. Edinburgh's a sharp market. The people that know, and you're telling me your first property deal was in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And you made a lot of money off flipping 3 flats. So you're looking at it going, do you know what? I'm victim to this whole, if you believe in it and you keep hearing that and believing it, then that's what your reality is going to be.
Well, going back to Edinburgh, so we've just finished the Merchants, which is a beautiful building. It's 9 apartments, a part hotel. And but I applied for planning permission and it was refused, to the point that we actually had to take it to the Secretary of State for Scotland. And when it was refused, again, we'd invested so much money in getting to that point. I was gutted. As I say, I'm a believer. You've got to protect your health. And so I just actually went to bed for the afternoon with a cup of tea and some chocolate. I thought, okay, tomorrow will be a better day. But I phoned my daughter and I said, pick me up something in Edinburgh with planning permission. And she went, actually, she came back with a church in Portobello that had planning permission for 4 houses. So we put in an offer for that. And again, my power team are still the same, but they were trying to protect me, always trying to protect me. So they hadn't concluded the deal. Mm-hmm. And as I say, whenever I go for something, then suddenly everybody and their granny's after it. So my friend came up with a bottle of champagne because we were supposed to be settling that day. And someone else had come in with an offer of 200,000 more. So the difficulty was that we'd actually offered overage, which means you put in an offer. So I think he maybe wanted 650 and we'd put in 400. But if we got our extra planning that we wanted, we would give him an extra 250. Mm-hmm. And so this other guy came in, and there's always that doubt, is this a real person or is it the seller? Anyway, they said, I had a weekend to get the money. And I was on the phone to Hong Kong and I raised that money and we got it. And then we went for 6 houses. We got 5. But by getting even 5 houses there, the GDV increased by 1 million.
Brilliant. Super.
But when I'm saying it's not easy.
There's a lot to unpack there in that little story. Like, okay, so you nearly lost that deal, first of all, because somebody came in with a clean offer, or?
No, but it was a clean offer, but he had offered the full asking price on that day. Okay,
so then you had to basically up your game, go and find more money.
Yes.
Why did you go to where's Hong Kong coming into this?
Well,
do you know,
as I said, I always say Hong Kong's always been very good to me. And actually, when can I just be like a flea and jump to something? It is related. So when all the money was taken out of the market on COVID, we had the last survey done in Scotland just before everything shut down. We had finance arranged. They pulled our finance. And when they came back in, we were given 41% loan to value. So again, I had to raise extra money.
And the original loan to value was?
Was 65.
Right, okay, so that's quite a big shortfall.
It was a big shortfall and everybody was frightened.
And this is on these 5 house? This is on the 5 house development?
This is actually on one that's actually now a 6 apartment apart hotel called Sleep.
Can you just summarise before we go further into your, so where are you at the moment? Like how, obviously you started off with the 3 apartments in Edinburgh.
I have a lot.
All right, could we be here for a while then? Could you just summarise a quick, so that then we can decide which one we want to dig into, the different projects?
So we started with Cumley Green, that was Nemo's World.
Aye.
And then we had Constitution Street, which is now finished. St James's Church, which I have 2 still to sell. But
These are apartments to sell?
So St James's is the 6, is the 5 townhouses, but they're selling for, we've sold one for £1 million.
Brilliant.
This is big stuff.
Yeah. So I've got...
This is the Portobello Church, St James's one.
Portobello Church. And then we've got... we took over the Old Kingsley Police Station, and that's now 8 apartments.
Love this one,
okay,
yeah.
So I'm just saying the ones that we've finished. And then Slateford House, 1770. That was a forgotten building, and it was built to stop Bonnie Prince Charlie taking over Edinburgh again. It's got an oval room in it that's older than the White House.
Wow.
So those are the ones. Then I've got Craighall Road, which is about to start. I've got Maritime Street.
Is that Edinburgh as well?
Edinburgh. Maritime Street, which is about to start.
Have you now become the shark in Edinburgh then that gets all the deals? I love it. Love it.
Maritime Street, which is about to start. We've also got a landlocked piece of land in Edinburgh that we're just going into planning for, that came on the back of Craighall Road, so it's in a great area. And then we've got we're about to start, it's quite an interesting story. They're all interesting stories, let's be honest. We're all property nerds, aren't we?
I'm trying to think about which one to delve into here.
I know, we need to figure out, we need to concentrate on one maybe.
So Fingask,
Right.
that was one that came out of lockdown on an auction property. And there was a great time in property because we were all frightened. And we used to go down to London to these big property meets, and actually they started doing Zoom calls, and these really experienced property developers just came like sort of great dinosaurs out of the woodwork, and we were all just scared, and everyone was just helping one another. And there's a lovely guy called G. Anthony Howard, who was speaking on one, and he said, watch the auction houses. He says, and that's where you really see things. So Gordon came in and he says, I've put in an offer. So it was...
This is you now dragged your husband into the property.
Yes, and he's like full blown. So he had put in an offer. It was offers over 125, and he put in an offer for 76 and a half, and it was a steading with lapse planning for 13 houses. So I thought, well, we'll never get it. But of course, people were so frightened. We got it. And in that Zoom call, Jay had said, give me a call. And I called him and he said, you are the only person who has called me. So that's about being an action taker.
Right.
And so Fingask, what we did with that was our money was tied up everywhere. So you've got to really have a brass neck. So we fought with them in the auction house for a year before handing over any money.
Even the 10%?
No, I think they took that out of our bank because we came up and it was illegal. It was a valid legal
Is that
argument.
an auction in England or
No,
up
Scotland.
in Scotland?
It's actually up on the North Coast 500 both ways.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
8 miles from
Fingask?
Inverness. Fingask Steadings, yeah.
Where is it?
What's the
It's
name of
4
the
miles
closest
from-
village?
4 miles from Beauty. It's in Kirkhill.
Ah, Kirkhill.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah. So now we have planning on that for 20 houses,
Wow.
and it's worth 500,000.
Superb. And you're going to sell that with the planning gain, or are you going to build it out?
Terrible. We're building it out.
So how does this sort of thing work
And then I've
Because
got more.
this is big. This people like I need to learn from you right now. So
And then
so
we've
you
got
see
one
that.
more.
Hang on a sec. This Fingask because I'm from Inverness originally, right? So
Okay.
this kind of
So you know Kirkhill's a great village.
yeah, lovely part of the world, right?
Great school, community hall.
Exactly. So you saw this in an auction catalogue.
My husband did.
Your husband did. Roughly how much? Can you remember?
It was offers over 125.
Right. Okay. What did you get it for?
76 and a half.
Oh, nice. Right. Okay. So there's a fair bit. You can get a deal there.
And it's
But I'm assuming it was just a ruin.
No, it's not actually. It's very... No, look, this is it. Okay.
Yeah, have you actually seen it yet? Have you actually been there?
Well, I've been there many times. But what I'm laughing at is you guys will understand. I was going to say, no, it's really lovely. Anybody else is
Yeah.
going to look at it and say, that is a wreck.
Aye.
It's a wreck.
Yeah.
So what it is it's actually part of the oldest recorded farm in Scotland. It's part of the Fraser of Lovat, so Outlander country. So it has a bell tower,
I like
with a big archway. And it was like just a buyer. So it's going to be a steadings.
Yeah.
When we took our architect there...
Is this listed as well, I'm assuming?
Actually, it's not.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah. He said actually all the walls were still true, apart from one where in like the 1940s and they'd put in a wooden lintel. So it's got a crack in it, but it looks terrible, but it's not.
Right.
It's
So
not
you buy that with your own cash then?
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously you've built up a bit of cash from the developments that you've done.
Yeah.
You've got a wee cash, well, not a wee cash pot, a decent cash pot now, where you're not messing about, you're going into auctions and you're buying these at cash, and then you are looking to now get planning permission.
It took a year to raise the finance for it to sell on it.
Because this is during lockdown.
Aye.
So we weren't sitting on it. We were fighting all the way, and that's why we will fight things, and we will find reasons. So the reason for this one and the delay was we had to widen the road going in, and the people who were selling had been given an access right to do that by the Frasers of Lovat, but we were arguing that was not necessarily transferable.
Right, so that you didn't own the access road.
It probably would have been, but we didn't want to take the chance. And in any event, it suited us.
Delay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
what stage are you at with that now then?
So, we've got our contractor lined up,
Right.
and we're just, we've got development finance.
Development
just
finance.
About to
Is that from like a mainstream lender?
Well, the thing is that is a whole other
Podcast.
month-long course,
okay.
actually. Development finance, it's, pre-2008, people used to say, you just write it on the back of a fact packet. It's now deal analyzers, and it's very complex. I know that there are a lot of other people in Scotland who have difficulty with getting development finance. I think because we've now got a track record, then people are happy to come in. Yes, but the good thing is that when I started, I was told that there was only 2 people willing to lend in Scotland, and that was only Edinburgh.
Right, okay, that's interesting.
So now there are Scottish people coming in, and the properties in Kingussie are funded by a Scottish firm.
Why not take the quick money then? Because I mean, you what you're talking about, developing out 20 houses. Okay, it's got to take a long time, but you've already got a huge gain from 76,000. You've got your planning gain. It's up to £500,000. There's nothing in you just going, I'm going to sell this and take a quick win and enjoy my cup of tea without the stress of having to then go and figure out how the fuck we're going to raise development finance to build 20 houses.
Well, the thing about it is that we don't find it difficult to get development finance, right? And it's my husband, he does that. But remember, I said I was saying to you before that I'm building a legacy business. So I think it's very dangerous to invest in someone actually if they don't have a backup, because anyone can go. So I have a huge team. So Gordon really does development finance and he devotes his time to that. Caitlin, when she was allowed to look for property, she did all of that. And she would just spend hours looking for things. And then Keanu, we started a small construction company.
Who's Keanu?
He's my son.
Oh,
He's my
right.
youngest son. So I have 4. 2 of the middle ones, they're not involved.
Okay.
I'm really interested to hear about the whole family dynamics, the family business. Like, how did you find your own strengths and weaknesses and what you'd be your specialist area?
Is there any of your kids that you've just not got involved because you think, no, they're dangerous?
They're liabilities.
Well, much like property, I see everything through rose-tinted glasses. So the 2 that aren't working for me, I think I'm missing out.
Right.
Absolutely.
I didn't raise you to make money for someone else.
So how did they find everyone's kind of strengths and let them run with that?
Well, the thing is that I think it just happened. It evolved. In the beginning, we just all had to do everything.
Yeah.
But now we're getting to the point that we can all just settle into what we're good at. And interestingly, you know, we've got a holiday let management company, and you know, others working with us, and they all come from the festivals.
Right.
So they've went to university, got degrees, and they've come back. So we work together through extreme stress. And
you know what people are made of then when you can see them working in.
And again, it's actually a very family atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dominic Raab, he would have nothing on me sometimes. Like, what?
Oh, the bullying. Aye.
Yes. So it is totally matriarchal.
The first misogynistic investor, he didn't last long then, did he?
No.
You put him in his place.
Yes. Well, actually, he put me in my place. He said no.
Right.
And it just drove you even more.
I mean, I wasn't expecting a yes the first time, so that helped, because I was still like you, thinking nobody's going to give me money, which is probably why it happened. Yeah.
See the timeline of this as well. So was it 2017 that you started it?
2017, I went on the first multiple streams of property
Like,
income.
so, but I mean, you've done so much.
Phenomenal.
Like, such a short time. So really, we're talking about 5 years.
Yeah.
And we'll need to get Gordon to give us the figures.
I know.
Yeah.
Gordon's coming back on.
So that
we're probably the daughter on as well. Talk about the.
We need to get the headlines. So many millions in
Yeah,
GDV.
I'll tell you who's Keanu's really interesting as well, because we started a construction company just to do this police station. But what happened was, not want to frighten anybody, but we had a very well-respected contractor who was terrible, and he was in 2 big builds, and I had to go down and sack him from both. So we had to take over. We had to take over like 5.8 million in construction, and we were and he had just spent a lot of the money, so we were really up against it.
Was that in the Edinburgh?
That was in the Edinburgh ones.
Right.
Edinburgh ones.
But the good thing is that you know, we got there and actually learned so much, but in particular Keanu learned so much, so that now we're going into the Star Hotel, and we know about
he's got his right team in place already too.
And this is the
good.
local Star Hotel in Canusie where you live. This is the one that I saw on TikTok. Was Gordon not walking about in a kilt or something like that?
He was. I put him in a kilt.
So that was good to keep doing that stuff, because it got my attention.
I wanted Keanu to wear the kilt, because I thought, we'll get the 26-year-old in the kilt. And he refused to wear it. So, you know, you can imagine you refusing your mother's. What?
At least Gordon stepped up.
Gordon's going to have all these.
He was like, he had it on before he was asked.
Any excuse to wonder about in a kilt.
Gordon will have all these women reaching out to him from like America and all that, from the States.
As long as they've got a private investor in finance to bring to the table, Maria.
That's it.
Let's talk us through the Canusie projects, because you've done a couple of big ones in Canusie as well.
Canusie.
Canusie.
This is the Fife coming out.
Yes. So Canusie is a great place. It's in the Cairngorm National Park. Everyone knows Aviemore. You know, it gets a million visitors a year, and what my intention is to make Canusie just sort of like really classy. The police station had been there and it was really unattractive. I'm looking at putting a living wall on it. The Star Hotel, it was 15,800 square feet. It was offers over 450. We bought it for 400. As soon as I had learned my lesson, I'm on the phone to my lawyer, like, get this, I don't care what you have to do, get this concluded.
Tied up.
Yeah, the estate agent said, actually...
There's a lot of interest in it.
Oh, 8. As soon as I'd phoned, he had 8 phone calls about buying it. It'd been on the market forever. And then...
It's weird how that happens, isn't it?
As I was saying, we have an offer sitting with our solicitor at the moment for 750 to purchase. But we decided to retain it because we want to really control our environment, not in a bad way, but because we've been to so many festivals, we've been in every town, and we know what looks good. You know, keep laughing and calling it my research, but
This has given you quite a good knowledge, though, of how
has.
the local, what would you say, like sort of visitor tourist markets, like, because obviously Aviemore is quite a tourist place. People
Yeah.
go there all year round, don't they? So it's
Yeah.
an all year round market. And obviously you're going to tap into that. Is the plan was to do like serviced accommodation apart?
So we have
apartments?
one apart hotel there already, which was the old police station. It's called the
Aye.
Sealies, and Stephen Gallagher was up at the weekend, and he was coming up with a great idea, which was supercars at the Sealies.
Love it.
That is
That's
a
my thing.
superb one,
Yeah.
isn't it?
You'll
Yeah.
you and Sam Dyer will be up
Big
for that.
thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about that project, the police station. 'Cause was that the one that you turned into nine units?
That's 8 units.
8 units, and
Yeah.
it's a apart hotel. So
It's an apart hotel.
does it operate and run without staff? And
It is, but we nothing's hands free.
Yeah.
So we have our management team. They're based down in Edinburgh. We have our cleaners, but for example, last weekend our linen, we were hiring linen. It just didn't show up. So I was like running around, and actually the Star has its own laundry. So I'm like, we're starting our laundry.
Yeah.
Going to check and
Did
see.
you get, when you bought the building, did you get the tumble dryers
Yeah.
and the washing machines and that?
Yeah.
Aye.
so the Star's across the road from the police station.
It
Is that
is.
going to complement the
It-
police station as well
it
and be the
will.
same branding and the same concept? Or
Well, it's been renamed to Wolf Hall after the Wolf of Badenoch,
Right.
and it's a kind of cool name. So we're actually hoping to have the bar open on between the 25th of June and the 1st of July. So
in the launch party?
we will do,
That lands
yes.
right on my birthday
Aye.
So
weekend.
it's wood-fired pizza, drawing
Nice.
on another experience,
Then my wife's in.
craft beer and cocktails.
Superb.
So, yeah, it'll be great. And it's really quite a big space.
So that's gonna be for the community as well, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's good, because like one of my questions was, you know how like property developers and landlords, we get a bad name quite a lot of the time because we are seen as the people who are sucking up all the housing stock and creating the bigger problem, and we're just out for profit and all the rest of it. So how did you kind of, being part of that local community, you're obviously quite well known, have you been received quite positively from these projects, or has there been a lot of kind of
Yeah,
negative stuff said as well?
Well, it's interesting. As trying to say, we live in interesting times. The police station took me 2 years to get planning permission because they wanted, there's always, no, it's not always, but sometimes there's a backstory, and they really wanted another charity shop.
Right, another one.
Really?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
probably already 5.
And
there.
I really am a bit feisty. I've fought with them. And I would get told, take those videos down. You look a bit aggressive. I am aggressive. This is shocking. We have to create an area where we can keep our young. Right? We can keep our young. Unfortunately, there are some people who are just, it's a small minority who are very vocal.
Yeah.
So with the police station, we actually were going for residential planning on that, and the Cairngorm National Park wouldn't give us. This was
Wow.
2 years ago, and it seemed like the end of the world, only to be given planning permission for holiday lets, because when you're going for exit finance or development finance, you need exits, and we only had one, which was holiday lets, and yet as we see the story unfold, it's to our great advantage. But we haven't taken from the sort of residential stock there,
Yeah.
and we haven't taken from the
Well,
residential
that's right, 'cause that was
stock
a
in the
police
hotel.
station. So
Yeah.
You've increased the draw to the area from tourism.
But what I
People come
say
in.
is that I think it's time for people to stop calling it affordable housing and call it council housing.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. And as soon as we stop pandering to the media and say this is council housing, actually an interesting thing at Fingasco is we have to build 4 affordable houses.
that's part of your
Yes.
planning
Yeah.
application.
Because every place in Scotland's different. So Glasgow city centre do not want any affordable housing. In Edinburgh, it's 11 and above. In the Highlands, it's if you build 4 houses, then you have to build one affordable, which is
What does what's that actually mean, affordable? Like, when one house is affordable, what does that actually mean? You just don't need to make any profit on it and sell it off
exactly
at
that.
a
Or
reduced rate?
or you can, what they wanted us to do was give it to a housing association.
Right, aye.
But housing associations do not have any money.
Oh,
Nobody would take our affordable housing.
And they've got stock for a nice deadening in the middle of the countryside. Yeah, it just makes no
And
sense.
actually, the people that live around it did not want it.
I'm assuming they'd reject it.
I kind of understand it from a certain point of view, because I read a story there recently. There was a guy who's got a hotel up in Ullapool or something like that, and they couldn't actually get accommodation for their staff because there's no housing. So there is a problem there. But like you say, the government just need to build more council houses, and that's the bottom line.
The thing about it is I'm spotting a great opportunity there, because when I was young up in Aviemore, there was always, they had their own accommodation for staff. They built staff blocks. And so what I'm doing is I've decided to do with one less apartment. So it was 17, it might be 16. It might be a laundry, and then it's got rooms above it. But I was going to turn the top of it into a sky bar, but I will actually make that staff accommodation.
Okay.
And then I think, you know,
That
if I've
solves
got,
another problem. That's
it
good.
does. And then it puts me in a position of strength if I'm the only one that can put pizzas on the table.
Well, you're bringing jobs to the area, you're bringing footfall to the area for the local economy. Everybody's going to benefit. Like you say, these minority groups that come out and just, they're against everything, every form of commercial enterprise.
Yeah. The interesting thing is Aberfeldy Cottage Hospital, which is one that we have. We've been in planning with that for about 2 years. But because the price is locked in, but 160 objections.
Wow, that's a lot.
To a hospital that has been shut for 21 years and has been maintained at hospital heat for 21 years.
Costing the taxpayer money for...
Costing it.
Yeah.
The people who are objecting obviously are ill-informed because they want it to be affordable housing. But the council cannot afford
to do them.
To do that. And they have land set aside to make affordable housing. But that's...
How do you, talking about, I've touched on the kind of government stuff here for a while, like obviously in your sector of holiday lets and, you know, serviced accommodation, all that, there's been a bit of changes in the market recently in terms of, like, you know, they've got the legislation coming in where you have to be registered and all the rest of it. Have you kind of looked into that much, and
Yes.
do you know where you're sitting with that, and does it bother you, does that worry you, or?
Well, the thing is that our apart hotels are all right because they're in blocks, and our houses, I think that they're fine. However, what I do find very strange in the property community, the people saying, oh, this is good, it will weed out the bad operators. Whereas I think that's just, quite frankly, mean, because reviews weed out the bad operators. There are people who have invested a lot of money and have beautiful properties, and yet they're just going to have their livelihood taken away from them.
Or somebody's renting their own spare bedroom out.
Yeah. Yeah. They seem to be doing it more sensibly in England.
Bit of surprise.
And what about the other one that came out was the council tax, wasn't it? So the doubling of the council tax for second homes, but I guess that's not really going to affect you because you're more of a kind of trading business, aren't you?
Yeah. But the thing about that is that that's been around since the Corries in the 60s, and I think it's time we got better economic policies than that, frankly.
I think if they think they're going to solve the housing shortage with doubling people's council tax, I don't think it's really going to solve the issue, is it? Do you know what I mean?
The thing about it is again, I see people in the Highlands, the people who work in the co-op get paid the same as the co-op in Glasgow. They get paid the same as the co-op in Wishaw. Unfortunately, during COVID, when there was such a labour shortage, we had guys leaving London to come up and work with us because they got more money. So there has to be an honest truth-telling. I am not in buy-to-let. I look at people who are in buy-to-let and all I see is a lot of actually caring individuals who are doing a great job. And I think that they need to heed the warning of other places. We need people to start using their pensions to buy buy-to-lets. You know, and I know a lot of people who invest from England who love to invest up in the likes of Ayrshire because the Scottish tenants take such good care of their property. They view it as their own. But as soon as they start getting penalised, then they will leave.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So where is the, like how, when is enough? You know, like you've done a lot in such a short space of time. Are you just getting started here, or are you like?
Well, I think you have to have a plan, and my plan has always been to bring the younger generation up. And so the property education, the property experience that they have is really second to none. So,
and are they right into it?
They're right into it, yeah. Yes. They're all into it. And even, you know, our team that work with us, they're all into it because you know, people who are attracted to property are particular types of individuals. They don't work 9 to 5. You know, they
work eyes open till eyes closed.
Yes. And so I have a very clear plan of what's happening. It's just me moving up and having an overview of what's happening.
When do you see the benefit for all this hard work as well? Because all that hard work, stress, by the sounds of that as well. When do you start seeing the benefits, and what does that look like in your world?
Well, as you guys know, it's always the next refinance.
Yeah.
We're in clover, everything's great. So I've had a first phase. So really, we're coming to the end of the first phase, which is the opening of the Merchants, which is the Constitution Street apart hotel, and that will be in May. And then we'll be on to the second phase of building, etc. But, you know, Keanu's only 26, so he has, it's just what he could achieve, you know, if he wants to.
So he's not had to go on a £20,000 course then. You've basically taught him for free.
Or the School of Hard Knocks.
Because I think he'd rather have been in that with coffee breaks and Danish pastries.
I never got any of that. No. I just get you basically worse than Dominic Raab, you say.
No, I absolutely love it. I think we should be getting you on for a separate podcast as well.
What about the private investor finance? You're still looking for more money?
Looking
for money.
Well, actually, I'm looking to replace some investors because we've changed our strategy. People were expecting us to sell, and actually, I just think that in this market, it's a better way to stay. So we're looking for investors that will come in
long term.
Is that to pay back the original ones, so that you can kind of go with different?
Just some of them, just recirculate it.
Right. Okay, got you. Great
Makes
stuff.
sense.
And where do we find, like, is there anywhere where people can go, like, so all these names that you've mentioned here of all these developments, is there anywhere where we can go to see, like, so Merchants in Edinburgh, that's coming to completion? Do we see any photos online or Instagram?
Slateford House 1770, the Seeleys.
People be interested to go and have a look.
Actually, the Seeleys is, when people go in there, they are blown away just by the quality of the work, because it was a concrete police station, and we're particularly proud of our beds, which are inspired by Soho House.
There seems to be a common theme there, Maria, with a lot of the buildings seem to be listed, or they have a good bit of history with them. Is that part of the strategy, that you look for buildings that have got that bit of the community where there used to be a hospital or a police station or an old hotel?
I think the thing is that we do all love actually saving old buildings. Yes. We do love not demolishing. I'm really delighted with the Merchants because Leith is, I don't know if you know much about Leith, but it's very vocal in keeping it commercial, etc. And part of our problem there was like, you know, who do you think you are? It's like, well, I'm a Leither, you know. I was born here. My grandfather and my grandmother actually both had businesses there. So for me to, we found these old cine films of like when I was five or six, and I'm actually in Constitution Street. And it just gives me such a thrill to have saved a building that could not sell at auction. Then a solicitor bought it, and for years it was a very Dickensian office. But to be bringing it back is just great.
That's fantastic, brilliant. And how can people get in touch with you then? Or, if they want to, do you mind talking to people if they've got...
Oh no, I love, if people have got problems, actually, I will talk to them.
Yeah.
But what I do prefer is I prefer if they phone me. Someone says, oh, phone me when you're free. There is never a moment, but I can always find time, which is a different thing.
That's great.
And I enjoy helping people, and I know how hard it is, and so it's actually just really nice for me to connect with people and to discuss things.
Have you considered doing any mentoring yourself? I think you'd be quite good at it.
I'm just a bit busy.
Yeah, probably doing bigger things. Right, excellent. I appreciate your time. Well, we appreciate your time.
I've loved it.
And
I've loved it.
I've really enjoyed the chat.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.